Good morning, everybody. My name's Justin Rogers. We're here at Transwest Truck Trailer RV in the beautiful Frederick, Colorado. Today we're having another sunny day in January. It's supposed to get up to like 57 degrees, so Colorado's still a little broken right now, but we're taking advantage. Today we're going to be doing a Newmar Supreme Aire. So this one's going to be the 4505. So you have a 45-foot floor plan, and that is also going to be the length of it. When you are in those 45-foot floor plan Supreme Aires, you're going to get the twin screw in the back. So instead of a tag axle like on your Class A's, there's going to be two additional, it's going to be an axle with drive tires in the back. So you'll have another set of dualies in the rear. So just a lot more footprint traction on the road and a lot more capabilities getting down, and also a much larger tow capacity. What's cool about the new Supreme Aire, so for 2026, they actually switched it from the M2 chassis to the Cascadia chassis. So this is going to be on the Cascadia 126 chassis. You're going to have a DD16 up front, which is going to be a 15.6 liter turbo diesel. You're going to get 600 horsepower on this model with 1,850 foot-pounds of torque. So plenty of power, especially for our customers that are leaning more towards that Super C because they like that big truck front end, they like the semi look, or that's what they're more comfortable with. So what I'm going to do first is open up the hood up here so we can see this engine. So you do have the gas assisted struts up here just like the previously, so you don't have to worry about it slamming down on you. You can see this big beautiful motor up here, so it's going to be the Detroit engine. For easy access to your batteries, or if you ever have to jump it off or anything, they do have positive and negative terminals up here. You have all of the maintenance systems on top and on the side, so if you're more of a do-it-yourselfer for maintenance and stuff, you have a much easier access to it for a Super C, and you do have a little bit more access at your Freightliner service centers, just because you don't have to get in the floor like you do with the Class A's. So I'm going to go ahead and close the front of this hood down. So off on the side where I'm at, there is a little safety latch, so you don't have to worry about that hood falling down on you. You just flip that little yellow lever and then you let it down. So as you can see, I'm barely touching it and it's letting itself down nice and slow. So just, again, makes that really, really heavy hood just a little bit easier to handle. So this specific one, it is optioned with the stainless steel baggage door package and the aluminum wheels instead of having the blackout package. So it's a much cleaner look for the semi chassis, and it's very traditional, what a lot of people know. So starting off in this corner, you're gonna have your big mirrors on the sides. So they are electric mirrors, and they do have defrost on the insides, and then you also have the mirror that's mounted to the passenger door here. So that's gonna help with the blind spot when you're going straight down and whenever you have to change lanes. So you do have flagpole bracket on here, so if you want to support your team colors or anything like that. You have left and right cameras on here, and then this one also comes standard with the 360 camera, so you can actually see that while you're driving on a separate monitor up there, so it gives you a little bit more peace of mind when you're navigating through tight spaces or backing and parking, anything like that, or just safety while driving. One of the things that is unique to Newmar specifically, inside the cab, they actually retain the air ride seats as well as the air ride cab. So you'll see this separate piece of fiberglass down here that I can stick my hands behind. This is a big old bulkhead, and the air bag is in the center back there. So you can get that true semi feeling and the cushy ride for those much longer drives. All right, so now we're gonna start covering all the compartment doors down here. So in each of your compartments, there's gonna be most of your utility stuff up in this front section, and then storage in the rear. So in this first storage compartment, you're gonna get to see the air couplers for any air hoses you wanna do for towing back then, as well as a reducer sleeve, because you do have the larger hitch back there. Up above in this compartment, you're gonna see one of the radiator portions for the Oasis system. So you can actually see that glycol mixture going in, going through the radiator, the fan blowing it out, and then it going back to get heated back up. So that's gonna be what the heating system is inside of this unit. In this next compartment, it's gonna be the hydraulic pump. So the hydraulic pump is going to be for a couple of your slides, as well as your hydraulic leveling jacks in here. It is on a slide tray, so it does pull out if you need to access back behind it or anything like that. Just makes it a little bit easier for maintenance and stuff. The next bay is going to be your Oasis Chinook. So Oasis is a hydronic heating system. So this is going to be used for continuous hot water as well as your furnace. So you do have a couple different zones that you can use for the Oasis, and that's going to keep the entire coach warm, the bays warm. And then you also will have heating pads on your black and gray tank just to keep those warm as well. Next bay is going to be your fresh water tank behind this pegboard, and it's also got a couple shelves in here. So depending on where you want to store your additional fluids, tools, anything like that, if you're an avid RVer, you know you always need a little tool bag with you. You can put all of this stuff here and then clearly labeled fresh tank drain so you know where that's at, and it's easy to get to instead of having to pull some false panels down to get to it. Up above, you're going to have an exterior TV with a sound bar, so that's going to be for all your outdoor entertainment purposes. So if you want to take a step back, this one was optioned with the dual Girard Nova awnings. So those two frame rails up top, those are going to be your Girard Nova awnings. So they both come out. There's a remote inside that you can bring out here so you can watch it. As well as a control panel inside above the driver door where you can let them out as well. The Girard Nova awnings are going to be your more high-end awnings because they're a little bit more resistant. They do have the wind sensors or the seismic sensors, whichever you know them in, and they're a little bit more resilient against wind or anything like that. So if it senses it, it'll suck them in, and they're a little more forgiving than a lot of the other awning manufacturers out there. So the steps, so this one being as high as it is, even with it aired up right now, you do get a triple step. So that third step is still pretty low to the ground. You can air out the rear suspension, or it'll dump it whenever you do the hydraulic leveling, and it'll bring this step closer depending on what kind of grade you're on. In the entry door itself here, you will have a screen door with a little latch on. You'll have a window in the door, so just a little bit more natural light, and you also have a very thick door here just for insulation purposes. You do have electric entry door as well as electric power locks on all the compartment doors. What's cool about that is whenever you put it in drive, it'll automatically lock all the baggage doors, so you don't have to worry about wanting one of those popping open as long as it is closed all the way. So right here between the tires, so you have two docking lights that I have turned on right now. That's going to help for backing up or setting up at night. You do have security lights around the upper portion of this motorhome. And let's see if we can see it in here. So you can't really tell from the angles without having to pan the camera back and forth twice, but you can see the twin screw wheels in the back and the axle going down the center right there. When we get to the chassis, we'll cover some of the benefits that you have of having a twin screw motorhome. So since this is a Super C, most of your storage or your larger storage sections is going to be in the back. So in this first bay, you're going to have like a 2/3 pass-through tray, and that's going to help you utilize all this space that you can back under the frame rails. Obviously, watch the height of the items that you're going to put in here because you do have the frame rails back here. You'll have easy access to the electrical components, generator components. This is where you'll dump your central vacuum system. You do have the screws if you ever have a slide failure. So we get a lot of Newmars in, and they'll be 5-10 years old, and they'll still have these screws in here unopened. So it just goes to show how Newmar builds their slides. This was the accessory bag for the vacuum. This back one's just going to be for larger items. So in here you're going to have your flip over ball. You'll have a light back here, and then you'll have pass-through that goes all the way through, and they put these little rubber tracks here too, so if you want to put larger items, you can just slide it across and not have just the carpet causing friction. You actually have a little point where you can slide it on. In here, you're also going to have a T-handle. So the purpose of this T-handle is for the other storage spot. So since this is a Super C motorhome, and the Newmar specifically, they're going to make use of that rear cap space like you can't in a Class A. So back here, you're going to have more storage shelves that you can put stuff in, but you'll also have a long storage tray back in here where you can stick your longer items, like a narrow long table, fishing poles, maybe a small paddle board, Just depends on whatever you want to use it for. So a lot of Super Cs are known for towing capacities. So this one can tow 30,000 pounds safely and very comfortably too. So to do that, you have the air connections back here. You have the adjustable Gen Y hitch. You have a 7-way plug, and then you also have the 2-camera prep for the Voyager. So if you want to tow like a stacker trailer or something, you want to see behind the trailer or in the trailer, you can tie in that camera system in there and see it up front inside of the motorhome. So it just gives you a little bit more peace of mind when towing those longer items. So on the back of this motorhome, you're gonna have another security light on it, as well as you see that rear camera on there. So that rear camera is part of the 360 camera system, but you can also have it on to see what's behind you whenever you're not towing that trailer, or if you wanna see like a car or something that you're towing. So now we're gonna work down the passenger side. So we may end up doing this side a little bit quicker because it is colder, it's out of the sun. In this rear compartment bay, you're gonna see those extra tiles that we have. So Newmar does send you with some extra tiles from the same batch, so you don't have to worry about any discolorations or anything like that. You have an additional 50 amp plug right here. So what that 50 amp plug is for is whenever you're parked and wherever you need to go, if you have a stacker trailer with an AC or 2 ACs, anything like that, you can turn your generator on, plug the 50 amp plug from the trailer in there, and you can have a fully powered trailer as well as a fully powered motorhome, so you can take advantage of all that. So this being a 45-foot Supreme Aire, I'm gonna step back because it's loud. You do have a 12,500 watt generator. So this is pretty much as big as diesel generators come on a motorhome. So it's plenty of power for running this entire motorhome, running the entire stacker trailer and everything like that. And the more power that it outputs, it's funny because it actually gets a little bit more fuel efficient as well, just because it takes a lot less effort to generate that much power. In between the tires on this driver's side, so you're gonna have a little metal storage bin in here. So this can be for all of your messy accessories, anything that's gonna get down and dirty in here. It is a plastic bay in here, so you can rinse it out pretty easily, and there's drain holes in there. So if you want to put sewer hoses, anything that's kind of gross and you don't want with all your other stuff, you can put it in here. The next bay is going to be your water bay. So you do have your black and gray tank drains in here. You also have your fresh water hose. It's on a power cord reel, so it just makes it a little bit convenient. This tray is all plastic down here, and there's a drain hole, so if you ever get this all messy, you need to rinse it out or anything like that, you can. All of the surface in here is just gonna be metal, so it's gonna be very easy to clean if you ever get it dirty. Low point drains, hot and cold outdoor shower, the remote valves for the tanks, and then turning on, checking the tank levels, the water bay temperature, so you can see your temperature outside, the tank temperatures, as well as you can see the tank temperatures on the inside as well. So you can turn on the different exterior lights. You can also turn on and off power from out here, and then the Supreme Aire does have a tilt option. So that's gonna air up one side, air down the other, and that's just gonna help drain those tanks fully. So you can have completely empty tanks and don't have any residue sitting in there. So next bay is gonna be a little bit of power. So this will be your 50 amp on a power cord reel. So you do have slots for any of your attached stuffs, so you can keep that compartment door closed. It has a rubber seal on both sides, as well as the seal all the way around the doors. That's gonna keep everything tucked away nicely and be able to keep all your compartments warm, especially if you're camping in the winter. So what's cool about this bay is the switch for the power cord reel is gonna be on the door itself. So it's gonna be, you can stand back and help guide it or keep tension on it with your foot. In here, you're gonna have the satellite or coax cable, so you would just run it up the same spot as the power cord. And then you also have your automatic transfer switch in there. So that's gonna be a surge protector, as well as detect whether power is coming from your generator or from the shore power, and it'll transfer the power accordingly. So the next panel, so the Supreme Aire comes standard all electric, but there's a few different power plants for it. So this one was optioned with the 640 amp hour lithium battery. So it is the second largest lithium package that they offer. You have dual 3000 watt inverters. So one of these inverters is going to be tied directly into an AC, so it can run the AC without the generator on if you just want to keep part of the coach cool, make it more comfortable of a drive. And then the other inverter is going to be tied into all the other stuff. So what's cool about that is it's plenty of power systems on it. So you also, with the Supreme Aires, you're going to be able to get power from the chassis as you're driving. We optioned this one with Merlin solar panels on the roof too, so you have plenty of sunlight power coming in. You have generator power, you have the 50 amp power. There's plenty of ways to charge this lithium battery. There is room to expand this, so if you wanted to add that additional battery here, you can get another 320 amp hours, I believe, and just expand that solar just a little bit further. The Lithionics battery is pretty easy and a lot of plug and play. One of the other cool features that Lithionics has is you can connect directly to that battery and it can tell you how much power it has left based on your current usage. So next bay is going to flip up instead of out. They do this so it's easier to get this in and out. So this is going to be your chassis batteries. So they're going to be in this metal container back here just to help protect them from any road debris and stuff. You do have the rubber latches under there. Shouldn't have to mess with this compartment a whole bunch, but you have to know where it's at. Next bay is just going to be a little bit of storage. And then this was going to be another connection for the positive and negative terminals. And you can also see your fuel air filter, the tank for the Oasis, as well as your fuel tank. So I believe this is 120 gallons of diesel that it can hold. So plenty of fuel for those longer trips. So it's going to be more than a lot of your Class A's, but slightly less than some of your super luxury Class A points. Let's see, do I have this open? I do. So we're going to cover a couple of the features here just because it's easier. So we were talking about the air ride seats and everything like that. So you do have heated and cooled seats on the Supreme Aire. You can adjust the intensity with this. You have upper back, lower back to adjust your lumbar and everything like that. You can raise and lower the seat with this switch here. You can also lock the seat back and forth so you're not getting that sliding action from a couple of the other features on here as well. You do have a big grab handle as well to help you get in, and the chassis battery disconnect is right inside of this door, so it makes it very easy to get in and turn this motorhome on if you have to turn it on because you've been storing it for the winter. It used to be in that second or third compartment and you'd have to climb up in the corner and everything to get to that back battery. All right. So now we're going to cover the inside of the motorhome. So we'll work our way around. So with the Supreme Aire and most of your Super Cs, you're gonna have a center entrance. So one of the cool things is you still get that big diesel lock up at the top, so that's gonna keep the door from blowing against you in the wind. Less likely to get hit in the face by it, so it just makes it a little bit more comfortable. All right. So if you wanna walk in and sneak past me, and then we'll show the motorhome opening up. So one of the things that's going to be different about the Super C versus the Class A's is your main controls are going to be over the driver's spot. So right here I'm going to show you opening up the slides. So you do have the full wall living slide that Newmar is known for. They still retain that even in their Super C floor plans. You'll also have a large kitchen slide that starts from the end of that bulkhead and goes to the entry door. So it just makes this floor plan open up, even though this is 45 foot. So one of the differences between the Class A's and the Super C's is you have the cab up front. So that cab up front, you're gonna lose about 8 foot of total length. So they have to make the floor plan as open as they can so you don't feel that loss of square footage compared to the Class A. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and close the step cover as well, just so one of us doesn't trip down here since it's in the middle instead of the front. There we go. All right, so we're gonna start on the living portion of this. And in this, how this one was optioned, you do have capacities to sleep quite a few extra people. So we'll start with the booth dinette here. So the booth actually does have the dream dinette set up to where there's a lever underneath, you push down on it, lift the cushions up a little bit, and then there's a big cushion underneath the bed in there. So it does eat up a lot of that underbed storage. So if you're not gonna have any guests, feel free to put that one in the garage. But if you do need that additional sleeping, this bed is very easy to make. Underneath this, you're gonna have storage on both sides. So that's just gonna give you more places to put stuff, especially your kitchen stuff. And let's see. Above that, you're gonna have a little bit more storage. So if you're noticing, you're gonna have two-tone cabinets in this one. So once we pan over to the kitchen side, you'll get to see a little bit more of that. And I believe it's Sable and Summit. So the split cabinets are kind of becoming a little bit more popular because the all white is kind of getting phased out, but the two-tone is still sticking around for a while. So the next portion of the living area, this one's gonna be your theater seating. So normally you can have a longer couch here, or you can have the theater seating. What's nice about this is this theater seating is actually a little bit wider than theater seating in a lot of other motorhomes. So it's just gonna give you that much more comfort in it. So it does recline pretty low. So if you wanted to take a nap in the chair or just have someone sleep in the chair instead of pulling out the couch, they won't feel very uncomfortable with that. So in between the theater seats, you're gonna have the same countertop as that. You'll also have some stainless steel cup holders in here, so you don't have to worry about any condensation getting on any wood or fabrics or anything like that. You have a dedicated area to that. You'll have a large storage spot in between. So this storage spot does have two levels to it. So you're gonna have a sliding tray that you can flip up and out of the way if you need to, but also a very deep storage. So if you wanna stick blankets or anything like that in here, you feel free to do that. It just gives you a lot of flexibility for things in there. Overhead storage. So this is going to be deeper than the ones that are above the dinette. So you'll have it is pass through as far as you can stick larger items and go all the way around. You do have the felt lining as well, so it's just going to keep things from sliding around, as well as a little bit of sound deadening, so you're not going to get that rattling and stuff from bouncing down the road. Next to this theater seat, you're gonna have one of your touch panels. So from this touch panel, you can control a lot of the features in this motorhome. So you'll see these spread out throughout. You'll have light controls, climate controls, your vent fans. So those are gonna be your max air fans. You can adjust the floor heat settings and your shades. So this one was optioned with the auto motion power shades. So you can control all the coach day, all the coach night, individual shades, however you need to do it to set it up to whatever your standards are. And then the TV lift control is going to be from here or from the main control panel that's halfway down the hallway. So it is on a televator, so you can just do one touch and it'll come up. So if you want to pan over to that, the TV is going to be located directly across from the recliners. So it is proper TV placement instead of like an overhead TV or one that's off to the side. It'll just make it that much more comfortable for all of your viewing pleasures. All right. So we're gonna transition just to the overhead of the cab real quick, and then we'll cover this second couch. So one of the things that Newmar does is the Superstar, the Supreme Aire, and the Summit Aire all are gonna have this big window overhead. So you do have a power shade that's controlled from the cockpit. It does let in a lot of natural light, but it is a super dark tint, so it's not too invasive. If it's super hot outside, you obviously close that shade and just give it a little bit of a vapor barrier. But you're gonna get a lot of storage up here instead of just that overhead bunk. Because you don't really need the bunk depending on how you option the floor plan. However you option this, because you can get that additional sleeping without designating the overhead bunk. And for the driver and passenger, it's gonna make it feel a little bit more open, because I'm not having to duck down to get into the cockpit. I can just stand upright in here. So you do have this big carpeted piece here. as well as this big bulkhead here. So as we talked about, this is the air ride cab. So you'll have the lip here and then these pieces here. That's what's going to be for to seal it off, as well as to give the range of motion that that cab needs whenever it's bouncing up and down, just to give you that more comfortable ride. So over here to the passenger side. So the passenger side is going to have a smaller couch than what you would have on the driver. This is where you can get some additional sleeping. So it's actually a pretty easy couch to convert. There's a pull cord right here, and then you grab it from the bottom and you kind of just walk it out. As you bring it out, the two legs are going to flip down. They do have threads on them on each of those feet, so you can adjust the height of those just to make it a little bit more level depending on however you want to sleep. And then you flip this back down there, and you can use those two cushions as pillows or just toss them out of the way, whatever your needs are going to be. So you can fit 2 smaller people on here, 2 kids, or 1 pretty large adult on here. It just depends on what sleeping arrangements that they need. And to fold it away, you're just going to grab it from the base, grab the cord just to pivot it. As you get a certain point, those legs are going to flip themselves in, and you just set it back down. So a lot easier than a lot of tri-fold couches that are out in lesser motorhomes. And that's how quick you can make and unmake it. The only slow part would be putting a sheet on, or just have them bring a sleeping bag or bring sleeping bags, anything like that. So overhead storage. So above that cabinet and above the TV, you're going to have 2 storage spots and then a little AV cabinet. So this AV cabinet is going to be a glass panel front, so any of those infrared remotes and everything can go through there. And you'll also have the Bose soundbar that's connected to the TV below. So that'll act as like your indoor speaker if you need to do that, but it also acts as the soundbar for that TV, so whatever your needs are. So the kitchen area. So in the kitchen area, this one is an all-electric coach. So we'll start here and we'll remove these covers. So the covers are going to double as cutting boards, so you'll have that built into each of the bottom of those. Newmar kind of retains this throughout. The induction cooktop is removable, so you would simply lift it up and unplug it and bring it wherever you need. So if you want to cook outside on a table, in your stacker trailer, anything like that, you can feel free to do that. So it is true induction, so it's very easy to use. A lot of people get worried that they have to buy new pans. Any pan that a magnet will stick to, these pans or this cooktop will work with. So that's going to be one of the easier ways to tell if your current pans will work or not. Up above, you're going to have a convection microwave with an air fryer. So it is very easy to use. You can just set everything in the baskets, clean it. It's a little bit smaller than the older air fryer microwaves that you used to get, but that's just supply and demand at this point. So up above, a little bit of storage here. And then you're going to have more storage off to the right, as well as the plug for the microwave. And then storage over here, adjustable shelves. We do have the owner's manuals tucked away in here. We'll just stand those up and then tuck it in here. Okay. So you do have a big living room, kitchen window here, so that's going to give you a little bit more light in here. So this is going to be one of the floor plans with a lot of windows in this living space. And what's going to be different about these is they are the dual pane windows, but they are opening windows. So a lot of the higher end price points and stuff, you'll get just frameless windows that are non-opening. So it gives you that nice panoramic view, but it's not very functional. Whereas this one, a lot of people that are buying Super Cs are going to be out having fun, playing, everything like that. They don't always want to have the ACs on. They may want fresh air. It just depends on where you're going. You'll have a big stainless steel farm style sink with the residential sprayer here, so you can get down in there, fill up the sink if you need it, wash big pots and pans. There are sink covers somewhere. I don't know where they're at right now. You'll have another master control panel there. So again, if you need to turn on stuff, turn off individual lights and stuff, you can control it all here. So a lot of these are going to be in convenient spots, so you can access stuff easily. So big pull-out drawer there for any of your longer items, utensils, anything like that. storage with trash can space down below. And then another little sponge storage here. You'll have a few deep drawers. So lots of storage there. And you can see they all have soft close on them, so it just makes it a little bit easier, more residential feeling. So you do have a Fisher and Paykel dishwasher here. So they do have travel locks on them, so it's not coming open. To unlock it, turn it on, and it slides open. Some people will just use that as additional pan storage if they're never going to use the dishwasher, if they use paper plates and stuff like that. Whatever you need, it is tied down into the gray tank. So I had some customers before, filled it with ice, use it as a beer cooler, and then the ice just melts down into the gray tank. So whatever you need. This next drawer is going to have a utensil tray built into it. So right now we have all the remotes, touch-up paints, universal remote, and all the different key fobs and accessories in here. So break this up, store whatever you need to in here, and everybody's use case is going to be different. So now what we're going to cover is going to be the center as like where we came in. So I do have the step cover closed so I can stand on this. You don't want to bounce around too much on it because it is a tile piece that is routed out, so you don't want to knock any of the edges or anything like that. But up here, you're going to have most of the brains for this. So you can have the main awning controls, wine guard controls, your Lithionics and Victron energy controls are going to be here. Hydraulic leveling is going to be here. If you ever need to reset the hydraulic pump, it's right here. The front slide controls are going to be here. Turning off the battery itself, if you want to totally store this motorhome with no power whatsoever, you can turn it off here. Baggage doors as well as entry door locks going to be here. The step switch, step covers, battery disconnect, and then all of your security lights and patio lights outside. So you can turn all of these on just to make a little light spot around you, especially if you're camping out in the desert or something like that. Over here, there's going to be an outlet with some wiring. So we had this one prepped with a satellite in mind. So we did order this with Starlink, but if you are a person that wanted to have like an in-motion satellite or anything like that, a lot of them are getting phased out, but there are some people that still want Dish or DirecTV. So it is prepped for those systems if you want to have it put in. On the corner right here, you're going to have two things. So you'll have the hose side for the central vac as well as the kick sweep. So the reason why this is centrally located is that hose is going to reach from the front to the back of the motorhome, or the majority of it at least. Makes it a lot easier just to keep everything clean and tidy things away. And then there's another storage spot in here that's pretty cool that we'll talk about in a moment. So this is going to be the main control panel of this motorhome. So this is what's called an ATC. They switched it from Silverleaf to this, and it's a lot more user-friendly and a little bit smarter of a system. So on this home page, it's pretty much a large overview. So you can see your battery state of charge, your chassis battery voltages, your AC. Whenever you change the temperature on this main one, it's going to sync all those zones and have it set up that way. Your shades can be controlled here as well as master switches for your lights. Tank levels are all seen here. If you tap the little flames on the gray and black, that's turning on those heated pads for those the gray and black tanks. Your fresh tank in this one's 150 gallons of fresh. So again, very large water capacities to be able to off-grid and, you know, go boondocking and stuff like that where you get a lot of Super Cs. Water pump, autofill, top off, you can control all those. The different heat for the zones, all of your entry door locks here. And these buttons all below are how you can get more in depth. So the climate button is going to bring you to your Oasis controls as well as your AC controls. So you can change all your different zones there if you want to individualize it, like cooler in the bedroom but warmer in the living room or kitchen, vice versa. Shades is going to be all of your different shades. They have the master switches off to the right side, and then individual shades going to be on each of the center ones. Your fans are going to be max air fans. So you do have 3 of them, one in the kitchen and one in each bathroom. So that's going to act like attic fans. If you want to open up those windows, get a nice breeze in here, you just do that. Floor heat, you can have those all turned on. So you have low, medium, and high. Just makes it a little bit easier. And you can also switch it to shed. That way you're not consuming power with those. Your power settings, this is kind of just a display. You can change your block heater on, your inverters on, and you can see how much power is going where and what's being pulled where. The systems page is going to let you see what's powered on, what's not powered on, and what volts it's operating at. Solar is going to show battery temperature, state of charge, how much power is coming in from the solar. And then the same thing with the generator tab, start and stop, generator slide if you need it, and then set up your automatic gen settings. So that can be turned on for temperature or for voltage, or state of charge for lithiums. Exterior is going to be exterior lights, and then your lights panel is going to be where you can control individual lights. So one thing that's cool about the ATC panel versus the Silverleaf is they have master switches for each zone over here. So living room on, kitchen, bedroom, half bath, and bathroom. That's going to turn on everything besides the accent lights on each of those zones, and just makes it much easier to turn on those motorhomes than you had with the Silverleaf settings. All right, so the last part of the kitchen living room area is going to be your fridge. So you do have a residential fridge. There is a travel lock in between them. So you just switch that over and you'll have large storage here. So this is going to be tied into one of those inverters as well as the lithium battery. And you'll have a freezer with an ice maker down below. So you do have 2 levels to the freezer, so pretty similar to most people's house fridge nowadays. This first cabinet is going to be pull-out pantries. So you push in to release it, and then they do have full extension drawer slides on there, so you can put a lot of items in there. Obviously taller items on top, smaller items on bottom, and it gives you 5 different drawers to put stuff in. And then this compartment's kind of unique to this floor plan. So you do have some storage down in towards the back of it, and then some long storage up top, but there's a big open space here. So what I've kind of seen people use this for is you can have it for brooms, cordless vacuums, anything like that, any of those taller cleaning items that most motorhomes don't have a designated spot for. So it just makes it a little bit nicer, more residential feel to actually have places for those stuff, instead of having to find like a telescoping broom or something like that. All right, so half bath. So this one will be one of 2. In the half bath, you're gonna have a porcelain toilet with electric flush. You're gonna have an opening window in here, and another max air fan above my head. So the half bath is usually pretty much utility. They put a lot of their electrical components and things like that in there because it's all centrally located and easy to get to instead of down on the floor or underneath the bed and stuff like that. You'll have the different breakers in here, floor heat, GFIs, and then a lot of your other breakers for this whole motorhome in here. So again, easy to get to. All of your fuses are going to be located in here. Over here, you're going to have a little bit of storage, and then you're going to have the Starlink box. So we order a lot of our motorhomes with Starlink nowadays because that's what people are more leaning towards. So it just gives you capability to be off-grid, but still have access to the internet and systems like that if you really want to disappear, especially up in the mountains. You'll have a vanity with storage in here. They put the chain limiter on, as always, just so you're not gonna whack the glass on stuff. You'll have another one of those main control panels. We're not gonna show that because that'll be a little too hard to get to. Counter space, so you have a big bowl sink. You can toss stuff in while you're driving. The counter is gonna be the same counter space that's in the kitchen, or the same counter that's in the kitchen. You'll have storage down below. And then you'll also have storage to the right of the toilet. So again, another chain limiter and then a drawer up above. So a little bit of storage in here. Obviously, it's just a half bathroom. You're not going to store towels and stuff like that in here. All right. So right now, we're going to go back to the bedroom. So I'm going to go ahead and open this bed slide up. So this will be the 3rd slide on this motorhome. So we saw the 2 living room slides open. So you have this full wall slide that I'm standing in now. It does go from the bulkhead all the way back to that rear bathroom. So it is very large. And the bed slide is just going to give you some more natural light and as well as some more floor space in here. So the first side we're going to cover is going to be the bed itself. So you do have a more premium bed in this one. It is an air bed. You can adjust it with one of the remotes that's in there. Underneath this, you do have a lot of storage. So I talked about that dinette cushion taking up a lot of storage underneath the bed. This is that cushion that'd go in that middle slot if you need the sleeping. Obviously, if you're not going to bring it, leave it at home. This other box is going to be thermal shades for the Freightliner portion of this motorhome. So that's going to be the front windshield as well as the side windows. That's going to give you a little bit of temperature blockage as well as privacy. Now, obviously this motorhome is really high off the ground, so it's kind of hard for people to see in, but again, added peace of mind there. Over on each side of the bed, you're going to have an outlet, a little nightstand, as well as some cubby, like a little tiny cubby cabinet down below. And then your main storage for the bed is going to be up above it. So you will have that up here. You also have an outlet in the center and then cutouts on each side. So if you're one that wants to stick a CPAP in there, drop the hoses down below, you can do that. And that way you're keeping the CPAP up and out of the way, but you can also keep those compartment doors open so it's getting the air that it needs and not an enclosed space. So on the above where your head would be when you're sleeping, there's going to be another one of those main control panels. So again, if you want to turn off that generator, turn off the lights or anything, you forgot to do something or turn something off before getting into bed, you can do it from the comfort of bed. You just got to reach up and turn it off. So the next side's going to be kind of your wardrobe situation in here. So you'll have another window over here. So you have 3 windows in the bedroom. You have the TV mounted above that window. So again, large TV. I think it's the same size as the exterior TV, just a little bit more creature comforts in here. You're going to have hanging wardrobe on both sides. You have the carpet in here. So this is going to be for the cockpit up there. So that same carpet that we saw, you would put that around up under the seats just to give you more home feeling, a little bit more comfort, as well as another form of insulation in there. So saw the hanging on both sides. So the next is going to be drawers. So you're going to have 5 drawers. This one's going to pull out further than the rest, so you can access it even past this. You'll have the same countertop here, so if you want to set drinks or anything like that, or items that can move around, you don't have to worry about scratching wood or anything like that. You'll have another AV cabinet. So again, glass panel front here, wiring and everything for being tied into that TV. So if you want to put a Wally, Blu-ray player, or anything like that in here, you can. And then you'll have another drawer for storage. So that's going to be it for the bedroom. The last section in here is going to be the rear bathroom. So this is going to be kind of your master bathroom. In here, you're also going to have the washer and dryer. So the washer and dryer is going to be a stackable. It is mounted to these panels, and then you will have the little washer tray down below to protect it. So, there we go. So this one obviously limits itself, and then this one does open all the way, so you can easily grab your clothes, toss them on the bed, and swap them back and forth and not have to worry about that little shuffle like you have to do on a lot of ones. It's kind of a convenient place for it, other than being crammed in the hallway like it is with a lot of motorhomes. Back here, you're gonna have more hanging storage. I'll let you slide in there. So up above, you'll have more hanging storage. You'll have a safe down below, and then you'll have this false panel down here. So this false panel can actually just be used as like a dirty clothes hamper or stashing stuff. Just depends on whatever you want to do with it. All right. Storage-wise, you're gonna have little vanity cabinets in the mirror here. You'll have same countertop like in the rest of the motorhome. Another bowl sink there, residential sprayer. Storage down below, lots of drawers. And then again, another main control panel. So you can control everything back here, lights, max air fans, heat, floor heat, and things like that. You'll have some more storage up above the toilet here. And then you'll have the shower. So this bathroom's a little tighter than you'll get in Class A's, just because, like we said, a little bit less square footage. So they gave you a good bathroom floor plan, but they didn't want to sacrifice on the shower size itself. So you still get good amount of height in here, still get the double sprayer function in here. You still have the shower miser, so that's how you can conserve that fresh water if you're ever doing any of the boondocking. ledges to put stuff on, and obviously soap and everything, and you still get the teak shower seat in here. So shaving legs, sitting down, you know, depending on whatever you need it for, you still get a lot of the creature comforts that you expect in like a high-end motorhome. So that's going to be it for the bathroom. As we're walking back, the ceiling, so you see the woodwork that they put in the ceiling and then all like the louvers in there. So Newmar puts all of their ACs down the center of the motorhome, but the duct work is also down the center. So you're going to have the intakes and exhausts running down the centers on each side, and what that's going to do is let you be able to cool and heat the motorhome from above whenever you have the slides closed, because most of your motorhomes will have ducts running down the sides. Well, it doesn't really work when the slides are closed because it's just going to cool that top of the slide. So with this, the 45 footer, I think you have 3 15K ACs all with heat pumps, and then you also have 3 zones with that Chinook Oasis. So you're going to have a lot of heating capacities there, but you also have heated floors. So just many ways to keep this motorhome warm and comfortable. All right, so the last thing that we're going to cover is going to be the chassis. So obviously, switching to the Freightliner Cascadia chassis was what a lot of customers were wanting. It was very anticipated when they switched to the Cascadia for these. So up here, it's going to be very familiar Freightliner. The Cascadia is kind of more of a makeover for the chassis, as well as giving you a little bit more cockpit feel versus the M2. You'll get a little bit more legroom on the passenger side, but this feels a little bit more intuitive. So with the Cascadia specifically, you're going to have this Detroit Assurance package. So the Detroit Assurance package is going to give you adaptive cruise control, active braking, pedestrian watch or whatever it is that makes sure you're not going to squish somebody right in front of you. And a lot of those safety and creature comforts that you're going to have. One of the other benefits of this is the engine itself is kind of self-diagnosing to an extent. So if there's ever any error codes or anything like that, they could display on here. Freightliner can connect to it, or Detroit can connect to it, kind of tell you what's going on. If they need to get you in to schedule you to a service center, they can kind of help with that. You have different hotkeys that you can play with up here. So cab convenience controls, see what your axles are doing, as well as your different tire pressures and stuff. Check temperatures of the tires. All your different maintenance and diagnostics can be done here. You can turn on your cab lights as well as your foot lights from it. Your phone and then music controls are all done here as well. Dash controls for heat and AC is going to be right here, and then you'll have a lot of different buttons down here. So with the buttons, you can have a light test button, the traction control, lane departure warning, turning that off, turning off the hill start assist, turning off regen. The control for that overhead shade we talked about is going to be down here. You'll have a control for turning on and off the generator. Battery boost for the house and chassis. That way you can link them and jump one or the other off if you need it. Courtesy lights is just going to be a couple lights in the living room just so you can see what you're doing. Cab ceiling lights is going to be like reading lights for in here. And then down below you're going to have kind of the important stuff for that Cascadia chassis and the twin screw. So you'll have an inner axle lock, which is essentially making it the true twin drive, and then there's also a differential lock. So that's going to make the wheels spin at the same time instead of your normal open differential, where you'll get like one wheel, you know, whichever one's missing traction or getting more traction. You also have a dump for the suspension. So if you're trying to hook up like a different trailer or anything like that, you don't want to jack the trailer all the way up, you can have someone lower the suspension height down. Just makes it a little bit easier, not have to extend all that jack. Your parking brake controls are going to be here, and then your trailer air supply is going to be right here. So as far as the dash, it's going to be very similar to a lot of the Freightliners. You'll have a couple different things up here, your tank levels, fuel and def levels, speedometer. You can kind of change what's going to be up here depending on what you want. This one is connected to the DT12, so that's going to be a 12-speed transmission in here. Got to get used to it at lower speeds, but it is significant improvement over the Allison for any of your highway or like towing large loads, especially stacker trailers and stuff like that. Your controls for drive, neutral, and reverse are going to be right here. So Freightliner switched to that a few years ago. Engine brake, you'll have high, medium, and low, so you can just adjust that by doing flipping through those. Paddle shifting, if you want to lock in and out of gears, you can control it over there. The left side of the steering wheel is going to be blinkers, windshield wiper settings, and high beam controls. You do have automatic headlights. The dial for those is going to be off to the left down here. And your cruise control settings are going to be on the steering wheel. Your push to talk and volume settings are going to be on the right side of the steering wheel. Windows, mirror controls, door unlocks, all going to be on the driver's side over there. And the passenger side still going to have their their window and door unlock control there. So a couple of the things that we have going on up here is this is going to be the mount for the 360 camera system, so the driver and passenger can see it pretty easily. This would also be what ties into the trailer if you wanted to do that, take advantage of the trailer setup. You'll have some overhead compartments on both sides. So a little bit more of a semi feel, but also more of a home and comfort feel. So a lot of people like this Cascadia chassis, and it's kind of the chassis that you'd expect whenever you're getting into these super high-end Super Cs. So that's pretty much going to be it for this Newmar Supreme Aire. If you have any questions about it, feel free to contact me, or if you have any questions about anything that we have on the lot, feel free to reach out. My cell phone number is 404-936-6215. If you prefer email, it's justin.rogers@transwest.com. I'll see you guys in the next video.